Good morning, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. I'm definitely doing a lot better this morning. Great. Yeah. Unfortunately, I went out to work last night and I wound up doing one delivery or one stop, let's put it that way. But it wound up being three separate deliveries. Uh, it was a shopping order too. So anyway, yeah, I did that, and unfortunately, with the one, it was a case and a half of water. It was basically 36 bottles of water and one uh, case, and then a couple other little bit heavy things. It's basically two bags, but they were kind of the one was a little bit on the heavy side, and I get to where I'm dropping it off, and it's a 10-story apartment building. Fortunately, there's an elevator, excuse me, indoors. But trying to, unfortunately, it was just on the second floor, but trying to drag those heavy items was a bit much for my chest area, my respiration. Um, yeah, it took its toll, and especially since the elevator wasn't working all that terribly well, it was taking forever. And it wasn't just because I was holding on to this case of water; it was just not working. And I noticed a lot of people were taking the stairs because people who lived there were taking the stairs because of it. And by the time I got to the second floor, I seriously considered calling and being like, "Hey, look, you need to send somebody down here." But I was just like, you know what? Let's test the waters and see. Oh boy, yeah. By the time I got up there to the second floor and then the apartment, it was down this one hallway all the way at the end on top of it. It was like, oh, I had to stop and put it down for a minute, and then I picked up, and then by the time I got down there, I literally collapsed. It was just too much. It was that bad. And then I finally was able to knock on the door, and some little kid answered. He gave me the code, and um, that was pretty much the end of it. But yeah, I'm not gonna do that again. I refuse to do that again. It's until I can maybe physically rebuild the muscles in there, and I don't even know if I can, but I'm gonna seriously try. Because there's some things that I'd like to be able to do on my new path that I'm on, and I'm gonna need those muscles, and I want to do this. So yeah, that was eye opening. That was definitely um, a jerker. So won't be doing that again. And then my next two, my last one, I had gotten out of the car, and as I was walking back, I about nearly collapsed because I was still breathing very heavy and so forth. So not a good situation that I was in. Fortunately, all this happened close to home. I decided to, instead of going out to my usual area that I go out to, I decided to stay a little bit closer to home, even though I knew it wouldn't be as profitable. Um, but I did that primarily because I had a little bit of a big bill that I need to pay yesterday, and I also wound up digging into my gas money, so I needed a little bit extra to see about buying gas. But unfortunately, after everything that happened, I wound up having to come straight home because it was too bad. And not having any food in the house, I had to go and get something to eat. And, you know, I was planning on, with working last night, that I would be able to, um, get gas and um, um, stop off and get something to eat, but it didn't work out that way. I needed to rest. I really, really needed to rest, and my intuition was kicking in also, in my gut, it telling me to go straight home. And I ate some snacky stuff when I got here, and I died. I watched a little bit of one of my TV shows that I stream. Um, And I died for several hours. Then got up, went, got something to eat, came home, um, and did puff on my inhaler. I held off on that, and yeah, it's temperatures definitely dropped. The storm system that I was talking about yesterday, I think it was yesterday, definitely came in. Temperatures dropped a little bit, and it was a little windy out there. So who knows? I may have ran into another windstorm because of it, because of the situation. But it could be a reason why everything happened. So uh, I'm going to dig a little bit more into my food stamp money and see about getting something to cook here in a little bit after I figure I'd do this video first, so it has opportunity to upload, and then go from there with everything. Just still, trying to live, one step at a time, one day at a time, and not worry about things until, just taking everything just one step at a time to help with getting through my challenges and so forth. Did a little bit of sewing today. I noticed that MJ over there on Soulful Revolution had uploaded a couple of videos, mid month videos, Scorpio and Sag, which I watched. Of course, I'm Scorpio Sun. My North Node is in Sag, so I watched those this morning along with the morning message. Um, and then she also released a Aquarius video this morning, which is my Aquarius. I mean, my Lilith is in Aquarius, not vice versa. So I figured while I was doing that, I haven't worked on my sewing in a couple of days. I've been taking it with me. I have this, I keep everything in this little bag here. It's not a traditional sewing box. It was actually a makeup bag. I didn't buy it for makeup. I bought it for another reason. With one place that I was living, it was a roommate situation, and I was having a little bit of issues with theft in the bathroom. Um, and initially we were trying to do kind of like a co-op thing or whatever, as far as toilet paper was concerned, but then I started noticing that I was the only one who was supplying toilet paper. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So I started taking everything, putting it together, and in this we kind of all knew whose was what or whatever, and initially everything was okay, but then I started noticing some theft happening, and I knew who it was. And I was just like, okay, so I taken all my stuff, putting it together on this one counter, and everything. But then I started noticing it was still happening, not only with my toilet paper, but also with some other things as well, like my cotton swabs and so forth. And it wasn't so much, because, oh, money or whatever. It was just the principle of the idea. I don't mind sharing. I really, really don't. Just ask me, just don't help yourself, unless I say, go ahead, I mean, that's common courtesy and everything. But I noticed that that was happening still. And I'm like, no, 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 no. And so I bought this, I found this clearance rack at Walmart, and I started keeping my toilet paper in there. And the other stuff, I was able to nip that in the bud by leaving little nasty notes, basically. Hidden, so that way the boyfriend wouldn't know what was happening, but she got the message. So, anyway, I started I keeping my toilet paper rolls in. I know it's awful. They have to do stupid shit like that. But then once she moved out, of course, the issue was no longer there. And when I started picking up my sewing again, I'm like, oh, this would be a nice sewing bag, especially since my sewing box. I should have kept it out of storage, but I didn't. I had it thrown in a box in storage, and who knows which box it's in. So I've been using that for that. But yeah, I take it with me when I'm out on the road. I've been taking it with me, even though I haven't been working on my project. It still has served as a nice little reminder of the direction that I'm going. I know, kind of got a little crooked there. There you go. So, but yeah, I got a little bit more done. I know it's really looking. I know I've been posting pictures. Let me see here. So yeah, that's what it's looking like. This is a kit, meaning that the stamped cross stitch pattern came with, along with the threads. Okay, and it comes on this little card. Sometimes they do that, sometimes they don't. It just really depends. It's kind of become more of a norm for them to supply this card, and it has numbers on there. Comes with, of course, the picture, what it looks like when it's done, and comes with a needle. Usually they come with a needle, and then it comes with the instructions. This one, usually it's just one page, but this one, because it's a little bit bigger, and I love the fact that it's kind of large print so I can see it. And it has, so yeah, this is basically your pattern, okay? This is your map, basically, of telling you, which colors to use where. It has, let's see if I can see all those little symbols, okay? Those are your color codes. Let me try and do that. Up there, up top, okay? So that those symbols correspond to the colors, and everything. But according to the instructions, it said it was supposed to be going in order, so I had to redo them. So in that way, they would be, the numbers would correspond, and I actually wrote in the numbers myself. So sometimes it's straightforward. Sometimes it's not. Just depends on the company and everything. Then on the back has the instructions for, as far as stitches are concerned, how to do the stitches, how many threads, because you're not using the full thing here. Okay, let me do one here, because each strand has got, let me do a different one here. I'm trying to find one here. Oh, maybe this one. Yeah, here we go. So each of them has, oops, there we go, 6 strands. Each thread has 6 strands, and that's standard with any company like DMC, Coats, basically JP Coats and Company, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of, or not a lot, but there's several different companies out there. The big one now is DMC, and they're based out of France. But to tell you the truth, when I first started getting into sewing, I always liked JP Coats more, because the colors were more vibrant. But unfortunately, they've kind of been getting out of embroidery floss, and mostly they've been doing like with the machine floss, which you can use for these sorts of projects, but it's just a little bit more cumbersome. If you're going to do something like this, but if you're going to do like your own pattern or whatever, like this one book I had read recommended to use those sorts of flosses. So, but anyway, the instructions, getting back to that, not only shows you the stitches to use, or how to do the stitches, but also tells you how many strands to use for each of the stitches. So like, for instance, mostly this one here is mostly a cross stitch. Okay, it's predominantly cross stitches, but in the end, as you can see, it's also got all these outlines. Okay, that's what I actually call, there's 2 different types of stitches as far as outlines are concerned. It could be either a back stitch or an outline stitch, and both of them are different. They provide different effect, but this pattern, they're strictly using back stitches. And then there's a little bit of French knots, as you can see, like right here up underneath the flowers, I know you can't really quite see all that terribly well, but basically they're just a knot. Those are one of my favorite stitches actually to do. I love French knots, but this one is a really basic sort of thing. But I was drawn to it because of this what it says is advice on life. Be thoughtful, kind, and considerate. Greet others. Where is it? Greet others with a grin. Laugh at the mistakes you've made. Remember, after every sundown, a brand new day begins. So I like that. Yeah, that was nice. So anyway, yeah, I'm down here at the bottom now, with it being broken up into two patterns. I've got the top part done first, and now I'm working on the bottom down there. So I know it's gonna be nice when it's done. I'm thinking I'm gonna turn it into a hanging wall quilt afterwards instead of framing it. So I typically do the cross stitches first, and then I'll do the other stitches afterwards. That's a better way to do it, because if you do, try and do like the back stitches first, especially since you're not using as many strands of the threads, then it can those stitches can wind up going up underneath, into the get I know what I'm trying to say there. They won't stand out, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So it's better to do the crosses first and then go back and do your um, embellishments, basically, afterwards. So that's what I'm working on. I wanted to work on it last night when I got home, because I was a little bit, winded and stressed out, from what had happened and everything. But I was so tired, between all the work I've done. I've worked basically 7 days in a row, even though a couple of those days I didn't work as long as what I had been. I still was working, and I was pretty tired. So, but anyway, um, got caught up on some sleep last night too, so that was good. Definitely am feeling a lot better. And also, what was really cool when I got home, I was a little surprised to see that some of the kids were still outside playing. They've been they're young kids, and them and their parents live on the interior part facing the courtyard here. And every day after school, they've been playing there in the courtyard, and kids games, making up their own games and so forth. They may have toys outside with them, but most of the time they don't. And there's not, I mean, there's trees and grass out here, but there's no playground equipment, so they're making up stuff, and everything. Unfortunately, with moving out here out west, I've noticed that parents just don't let their kids outside to play. Or if they do go outside to play, the parents are outside with them, and they're just, you know, um, it's it's and it's not the same as what I was used to, where kids are, making up shit, and it's not the same sort of laughter and so forth that I'm used to, with living back east, um, and where we're riding our bikes, getting into trouble, all this sort of stuff or whatever. Um, but since I've moved here, I've finally had opportunities to re-experience that again, where kids are playing normal. I found out here, parents typically are keeping their kids indoors. I get it, because of the weather. It's very hot during the summer, so I get that. Um, but it's even when it's cooler, it's like the parents are keeping their kids indoors, playing video games all the time, this and that, and so forth. And it's like, no, kids need to be outside playing, making up shit and so forth, making up their own rules, and so on and so forth. And I haven't really experienced any of that since I've moved out here. And with moving here, it's that. it's like, wow, I haven't it's heard this sort of laughter and everything for 20 years, you know? And it's wonderful. I'm loving it. They're acting like normal kids. It's like, oh my gosh. So, and when I got home last night, I was surprised to see that they were still outside playing here in the courtyard. And this group of kids, they live upstairs, the second floor, down at the towards the back, and I kind of live towards the back myself. But they were outside playing, and it was I heard as I was getting my stuff together in the car. I heard the ones was shouting out, "Oh yeah, it's my birthday!" And another one going, "Oh, I'll make you a hamburger." They were basically playing in the mud. The sprinklers have been going, and they were playing in the mud. And it was as I'm walking up to my door, they all came running over to me. I was shocked. I was just like, "Oh my gosh!" I had my mask down, and um, all came running over to me, and they were all showing me what they had been making in the mud. The one who was making the hamburger, she had made a hamburger, the mud, she made the hamburger out of the mud, and then she was using rocks, kind of larger size rocks, for the bun. And they were all three of them, there was three kids, they were all just covered in mud. I'm sure mom was just like, oh great. But hey, let them do it. Let them be kids. That's what is important. Let them have those experiences. And even the kids, yeah, as far as the situation that happened on Monday, that's cleared up. The person who basically caused the situation, it was actually the mother. Yeah, she I think she may have mental issues. I haven't spoken to him or anything about it, but just, based off of what I had heard with the conversations with the police, and I haven't spoken with the office about it or anything either. But it was just weird because I know that they were living with the father, and and it's been a very calm situation. And then all of a sudden, things changed over the weekend, and then everything exploded on Monday. And I'm just like, something's amiss here, you know? And then when I heard him say to the police that, no, she was hitting on me, and I'm just like, what? Well, okay, of course there's that stigma where, oh no, wives don't abuse their husbands or whatever. But I immediately thought of my grandmother. My one grandmother anyway, and I've talked about her several times. She was a very abusive woman, not just to her kids and to us grandkids, but also to her husbands. Her first husband, she abused so much, um, he wound up in an institution because of it. She drove him that insane because of her antics. And I've seen it once happen once before also since then, with somebody who was a friend. They were a neighbor actually, and a friend. And she just, I don't know, she turned 40 and she just went off. I don't know what happened. So, but I'm not going to go into that situation. So, yes, I have seen it where women abuse their husbands or boyfriends or whatever the case may be. So women can be abusive as well, and that's what the situation was because he got the kids back the very next day. And I'm just like, okay. And I haven't seen her all week. So, but yeah, the kids next door, they were outside playing, or at least interacting with the kids and so forth. So, yeah, very good situation. So I was shocked when the kids they just came. They're little kids, like around 6, 7, 8 years old, something like that. And they just around the age of 6 anyway, give or take a couple years. But they were just all playing, and they came and I was shocked when they just came running up to me as I was walking to the door, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I haven't had this in so long. It's so wonderful. It made my heart feel really, really good, especially after everything I'd just been through, um, and everything. I was just like, yeah, it was like spirit was talking to them, telling them, hey, go cheer her up. And I was just, yeah, really, it did my heart a lot of good. Really, really did. So yeah, I that's why I said at the start of the video, I'm feeling better. Yeah, because between that and doing my sewing this morning and the messages that came out from MJ, it all, just tying together. All her messages were tying together, basically going from video to video. With it, with everything, as far as the messages were concerned about cutting ties, um, basically ending those karmic cycles with certain people in my life, um, closing those doors, of course, still being open to the possibility of uh, um, still talking or whatever, but setting those boundaries and being like, hey, look, I'm not going to tolerate this. And yeah, and just, you know despite the cycles closing up, I'm moving forward. It just confirmed for me with what I've been doing, and so forth, that despite all of this, that I'm still moving forward because I know what's going on, even though people don't want to listen to me and much rather make their own assumptions. Even if I tell them, they're still stuck in their own mindsets about their own assumptions and so forth, that's what the reality is. And it's like, no, I know what the reality is, and that's all that matters, and that's all that should matter to you as well. As long as you know what is going on, to hell with everybody else, even if it's family, even if it's somebody who you really care and love very, very deeply and so forth. Obviously, that caring, that compassion, that and that love is not being reciprocated if they're spreading their toxicity towards you. If they're in, not doing what they should be doing, you're doing what you should be doing. But if they're not doing the same thing, they obviously don't know what love really is, because love is really unconditional. And I know that because I've experienced it with my out of body experience that I had earlier this year. So, yeah, um, that was an experience. I gotta tell you, I don't call it a near death experience because I knew I wasn't dying. I could consider it more of a out of body experience, and what I did experience, it was very beautiful. And that's the sort of road that I've been going down since then, or at least trying to. I've been trying to stay down that road. Yeah, life is going to come around. Life is going to be teaching you things and so forth. And the main thing is to learn those lessons and everything, and and embrace the good and the bad, the positive and the negative. I hate using the word bad, but the challenges, that's a better word. But embracing the good times and the challenging times, and consider the challenging times opportunities for growth. All right, I know. Oh, my videos always have a lot, don't they? But yeah, that was the other thing I was going to mention too. With these kids, that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about things that are going on here, with the homeless situation, because I know there's a lot of kids out there on the streets as well. Yeah, don't get me wrong. There are uh, there are crazy people. There are people who are only out there, so that way they can mooch off of other people, or there's people um, who are stuck in their addictions and so forth, whether it's drugs, alcohol, gambling, whatever the case may be. Um, yes, there are a lot of those that are out there, but there's also a lot who are just like me and the rest of these folks that are in here who are just trying to survive, and they wound up in a bad situation, a very challenging situation. And those are the people that I'm advocating for, who now, because they're in that situation, they don't have access to be able to take a shower and so forth, so that way maybe they can get a job. Or maybe they just can't get a job because, like this one lady I was reading about, she's on disability. She has to be on disability because of health issues. Hello. I know. If I don't, I could very easily wind up. So, anywho, I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.